aircraft carriers. Those are some pretty darn big boats. And they cost a lot of money to make. So what happens when they need to be disposed of? Well, maybe they could sell them for quite a bit. I'm sure the metal's worth plenty, right? Well, the US government sold 2 aircraft carriers just a couple years ago for only 1 cent each. Why the heck would they do that? Does not seem like a major loss on their part. Two years ago, the US ran into an issue. They had 2 old and well-used aircraft carriers, the USS Kitty Hawk and the USS JFK, both of which were getting to the end of their lifespan. They needed to be disposed of. So, they had to get rid of them. And what did they do to get rid of them? Well, they sold them for 1 cent each to a metal scrapping company in Texas. But why the heck would they do that? Well, first of all, why do the ships need to be disposed of? Well, the answer is pretty darn obvious. The fact that they were old, they were used, boats need to be disposed of eventually. The USS Kitty Hawk was actually the very last boat the US military used, for aircraft carriers at least, that was still powered by oil. The rest of them are all nuclear powered, including the USS JFK, but even that one had reached the end of its lifespan. In fact, they'd been decommissioned for plenty of years already. They were just sitting around. But finally, they needed to be properly disposed of. So, like I mentioned, 3 times already, they end up getting sold for 1 cent. You would think that something would be worth a lot more than 1 cent. Something with as much metal as that, even if it was just going to be scrapped. But, actually, that is not the case. Normally, the US military would have to take it all the way to a scrapping yard. In this case, the scrapping yard was in Texas, which costs them a lot of money to do. It is not cheap to bring 2 boats all the way down through the Panama Canal, or sometimes past Argentina and Chile, and all the way back up. If you're going to Texas from where the boats were in Washington State. That's a long ways. And that costs a lot of money, especially given that the US Navy does not have the capacity themselves to dispose of the boats. They always find some company to do it. So, instead, it's a win-win. They sold the boats for 1 cent each. But then the other company immediately took possession and had to bring them all the way around. This time they actually went below Chile, below Argentina, and all the way back up to Texas to finally be disposed of them. But then that brings into another question. Why would the company take it on for 1 cent even if they're going to lose money on this? Well, that brings into the answer to the earlier question. They do still make money, if they can make enough money off the metal. And the metal is a gamble, because not always is the metal worth enough. Sometimes it will not properly pay off. And that is a bet that the companies have to take. But that is why it was sold for just 1 cent, because of the fact that this company thought, hey, this metal could be useful. We think we can make some money off of this. And the US Navy said, hey, we won't lose money off of this because all we have to pay is 1 cent. They can go ahead and make some money, but we're really not losing anything. We got a good life out of these boats, but it is over now. So, all in all, it's pretty much a win-win scenario. The US government, while they did lose 1 cent, then they didn't actually lose that much money because they didn't have to keep the boats and move them all the way to the scrapyard, while the company got a chance to take a flyer on the metal to see if maybe they can make some money off of it. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys again soon.